Put your paper down. She's got to
Hi, today I'm giving my persuasive speech. Here's my audience. Alright. Today I'm going to share some facts that I have found through research and also experiences I have read about. All of this is going to revolve around the sport of hockey. Now, should fighting be banned from the sport of hockey? In recent years, this important aspect of the game has gone under scrutiny. While non-violent activists argue that fights should be banned in hockey because of the danger they pose, I argue on the contrary that pucks cause more injuries and that fights are a necessary part of hockey. They immediately settle disputes, players willingly engage in them, and they fully accept all possible consequences. Since the invention of this sport, fighting has been bred deep within. To begin with, hockey is a sport among an exclusive small category. These sports in the category lack an out-of-bounds area for players to escape from danger. Boxing, cage fighting, and hockey, they all take place within a fully enclosed playing area. So if a player is going into the corner to get a loose puck and a defender is coming from behind, there is nowhere to go but into the boards and take the hit. In football, a player can always run out of bounds to escape the hit, and the same goes for nearly all other contact sports. My argument to go along with this fact is that sometimes anger can build from frustration or even injury from taking hits. With this being said, hits are virtually inevitable in hockey, and all players experience impact one way or another. I can agree with the argument for no fighting in sports like football, basketball, and soccer, etc., because all of them do have an out-of-bounds area. However, I strongly feel that fights are a necessary tool in hockey. Fights provide an outlet for players to discharge any built-up anger toward an opponent, and although this may seem counterintuitive at first, when examined, far less debilitating injuries happen as a result of fighting. In lieu of opponents taking runs at each other on the open ice, if a player's back is toward the rest of the ice while scrambling to get a puck by the boards in the corner, he has no chance of preparing for impact from another player. Every year, numerous players fall victim to whiplash injuries, broken vertebrae, and countless concussions. All of these injuries happen not from a punch, but a blind hit from behind. This is why I feel so strongly about fights in hockey. Players each are given equal opportunity to defend themselves and attack their opponent. Built-up tension between the two individuals is then quickly released and the conflict is resolved. Afterward, each player spends 5 minutes in the penalty box and the game goes on. With a brutal blindside or from behind the net, it is not uncommon for the player to require immediate medical attention and often delay the game by a substantial amount of time. Now, another crucial aspect of hockey that poses a threat to players is the puck itself. This object, needed to score a goal in the sport, causes a significant amount of injuries each season. The puck consists of a circle of solid vulcanized rubber, and it measures about 1.5 inches thick and 3.5 inches in diameter. While this is small, the energy carried within from a strong slap shot is more than enough to shatter bones, blow out teeth, and leave very deep contusions, even through the thick padding that all players are required to wear. If fighting is deemed too dangerous and voted upon to be removed from the sport, I feel the sport must be redesigned as a whole or left behind for the reason being that fighting is nowhere near the most dangerous part of the hockey game. As I said earlier, all players are well aware of the danger that hockey and fighting pose to them as individuals. However, each player that plays this sport, they play it because they want to of their own free will. No one forces them to play, and they have all been made well aware from the beginning the potential consequences that can follow from a game of hockey. With that being said, I argue that a player has a far greater chance of going out of the game and incurring an injury from another player's contact during gameplay. This is the part of hockey that I agree no player truly can predict the outcome of. No one has eyes in the back of their head, and there is absolutely no way of knowing what is going on behind you in a hockey game. In the book The Code by Ross Bernstein, this is the main topic. Tony Twist and Marty McSorley are interviewed for their take on violence in hockey. The duo admits that there is a strong possibility of sustaining an injury from a fight. However, both definitely agree that fighting has a place in the sport of hockey. The notion I argued earlier about mid-play hits posing more danger than fights is affirmed via this interview. And because of this, I feel that if players were truly worried about their danger, they would argue more on the side of doling out more severe penalties for dirty hits rather than banning fighting as a whole from hockey. Now, My final argument comes from my personal experience with hockey. I myself, because of no one else, was always the responsible one for the actions I made on the ice. And whether I suffered a punishment from the coach or an injury, the road leading to each consequence was solely determined by me. This is the strongest piece of evidence I want to get across today. There have definitely been a few times when I have noticed a significant amount of danger present on the ice, but I still made a conscious decision to continue to play my favorite sport. Through my research and interviews I've come across plenty of primary accounts that explain how hockey is a sort of culture of its own. Everyone involved understands this, and we have all accepted the fact that we are playing this sport at our own risk. Through research and findings and interviews, it is definitely clear that we, the group that makes up the culture of hockey, are all on the same page when we say that no outsider should have a say on how to play this sport. Just as we make the conscious decision to play this sport, the spectator makes a conscious decision to watch the sport. There are even accounts of players who have become quadriplegics from an injury they received on the ice, yet they now still play hockey on a sled for handicapped individuals. This is a modified version of hockey where players move about the ice via sled with two sticks that propel them across the sheet of ice. There is still every bit, if not more, contact between players on sled hockey. I hope that you can see, as I do, that this truly affirms the idea that hockey players love their sport the way it is and wish for no outside party to come in and change the way of the game that we have all come to love. My hopes from sharing all of this with you is that you walk away more informed about the sport of hockey and why I, along with all other players, feel fighting holds a necessary place in the sport. And no matter how counterintuitive the notion may seem, fighting actually leads to a lot of better outcomes, prevents a lot of injuries, and it can exclude any raw anger from being taken out from another player. Today I brought 3 props. One of them is a hockey stick right here that I used. As you can see, I mean, getting hit anywhere with this hurts a lot. Many bones are broken from those. Skates are a whole different story. I mean, it's literally a knife on the bottom of a skate. There's plenty of stories of people getting their jugulars cut, crucial veins, bad injuries. And then another thing I brought was gloves. This is why I also think fighting is nowhere near as dangerous. Most of the time, gloves are left on, especially for goalies, and even when they are dropped, players retain their helmets, and knuckles hitting the hard plastic surface usually doesn't result in a good outcome. So fights don't last that long, and players kind of take out their anger quickly. Thank you. Here's my audience again.